Hey guys, I hope you guys are having a great day today. If you're new here, hi, my name is Vivian. I'm a robotics engineer with a love for all things beauty and makeup related. And today we're going to talk about some makeup products that I regret purchasing. There's a couple of items specifically that I am a little bit upset I spent money on for various reasons, which I'll get into. But I thought this would be a little fun video. I do have quite a bit of makeup, so I know I have some things here that aren't my favorite, and these things specifically aren't necessarily all like fails. They're just things that I think maybe I didn't need in my collection, and if I had lost my collection again, I don't necessarily think I would repurchase. With that being said, let's just hop into the video. So I have my little basket here of makeup things that I regret purchasing. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about I've already decluttered, so for those items I'll put like a little picture here, like a screenshot of something, but I do have some items here that I want to talk about specifically. The first one is, I think some of you might already be able to guess it. It's the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Palette in Diffused Edit. So this is what this looks like. It's just like a face palette. It has a bronzer, blush, and a setting powder. And this thing is like $60, okay? It is not cheap. The packaging, it's plastic packaging for $60 worth of product, okay? Even Charlotte Tilbury has plastic packaging, but Charlotte Tilbury's packaging definitely feels more luxurious than this. It's not just the packaging that bothers me though that is like a pretty big part for the price that I paid for this. Bronzer does not show up on my skin. Look, I'm gonna swatch it for you. Okay, I'm just gonna rub it all over my finger. Can you even see that? That will not show up on my skin as a bronzer. I am tan, okay? And it's not even that this palette itself is just wrong for me. Hourglass is historically known to not have a good shade range and to not be inclusive in their shade range. So bronzer, I'm out. Already out. So that's $20 worth of product, right? Because this palette is $60. That is $20 worth of product that can't use. It's basically like non-existent for me. It might as well just not be there. Okay, next product. This is the blush. The blush isn't too bad, okay? It's like a purple blush. It is definitely still light, but at least it'll show up on my skin. You can like kind of see that right there, okay? The thing is, that shade doesn't work for me. It's not a shade that I typically go for. I don't really go for like a lot of those purpley blushes. Most of my blushes are like pink, warmer pink, and like more like sunburn shades, okay? So the blush might have been my fault. I maybe should have picked a different palette, but blush also not there for me. The setting powder. Hard pans, okay? I have a little bit of a hard pan in there, which I'm not happy about. That powder shade, it's not focusing, but like definitely a little light for my skin tone. You can kind of see it there, like it's, oh, there. Like it's definitely a little light. I don't think I would ever repurchase this, is where I'm at with this. Packaging is not fun. I seriously hate this palette, and I hate that I spent so much money on it for what I got. I really should have thought about this more before purchasing, but I bought this when I was first getting into makeup, and there was just such a hype around Hourglass products. Like I've heard so many good things about the Hourglass products, so I thought, oh, I'll try this palette. I remember specifically when I was looking into like Hourglass's like trios like this, I remember specifically I chose this one because the bronzer looked the darkest out of the face palettes that they offer. you know, it just doesn't work for me. None of this works for me. The powders are fine. I don't think they're anything special, but I don't think I would ever purchase a thing from Hourglass ever again, especially because now I know their shade range is like complete trash. Like even just swatching it, I swatched all three of them, but even just swatching it, like even this blush shade I don't think looks good on me. And the bronzer is literally my skin tone. Like, I don't think you can see a difference, and I think that's not great. I know people really like the powder. Like, I know a lot of the diffused light powder, but I have other setting powders that I think work better than this. So overall, just a huge fail on my part. I am super upset that I spent like $60 on this. Okay, I'm editing this video back and looking at the price. This palette is $68. So like with tax and everything, that's like $70. And that just makes me so much more mad. Like, this was so much money for something that not a single product works for me. And like, looking back at the footage, I look a little bit tan, but in person, I'm like a light to medium at the darkest, okay? I am not that tan. My skin tone is not that deep. And the fact that the bronzer shade literally matches me, and that was like the deepest bronzer shade I could find in one of those palettes. Like, I just don't understand how they can get away with that. Anyway, back to the video. You could probably, like, if you've watched my declutter series, I've said this before, but I'm so upset that I spent money on this, and I want to hate pan it, but it just doesn't work for me. Like, I seriously don't know what to do about this. Okay, moving on to item number 2. Okay, this is the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Contour Wand. So the packaging is kind of reflective, so you might not be able to see it, but basically it's like a liquid contour that everyone raves over. The thing that I hate about this product, the product itself is fine. It's pretty good, actually. I don't hate the product, like the actual formula. I think it blends out super easily. I hate that this came half empty. This is a $40 product. This one tube of this is $40. It was sold out for forever, but I really bought into the hype of Charlotte Tilbury and how much everyone loved this contour wand, okay? $40. The tube came half empty. So I'm getting like half of the product worth, and I think that if Charlotte Tilbury really wanted to, they should have better quality control. Because that, to me, that's just unacceptable. If I'm just gonna spend $40 on a product, I at least want the product to be full. But nah, that's too much to ask for. I wanted to mention there is like kind of a dupe for this. This is the Makeup Revolution Eye Bright Illuminating Under Eye Concealer in the shade Deep Caramel. Okay, so it's kind of a similar kind of package. It's like something with like a sponge tip. It's liquid inside. This is technically a concealer, so obviously it's not meant for like to be the same thing. It's not meant to have the same effect, but I would say these are pretty similar. Those are them swatched side by side, so you can see that the Revolution one is much darker than the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Contour one. The Charlotte Tilbury is the lighter one, but the formulas are like pretty similar. I would say they blend out pretty easily, in my opinion. I wouldn't say the Makeup Revolution Eye Bright is usually that dark. I think I just have to shake it up a little bit more. But basically, this was a lot of money. There are dupes out there. I just don't think that the $40 is worth it, especially when the tube comes half empty. Like, it's just not something that I want to spend money on when there are tons of bronzers and contours that are out there on the market. I just don't think spending that much money is worth it, even though I know everyone loves Charlotte Tilbury. I know it's like a thing. Charlotte Tilbury almost has like a cult following. And that leads me to my next product here, okay? You might be surprised by this, because I was a little surprised by this too, but this is the Charlotte Tilbury Glowgasm Beauty Light Wand in the shade Pinkgasm. So this is a super, super hyped product. This is technically a highlighter, but it's this like pinky shade, so it's really a blush tone. I will say that the packaging gets super messy and I feel like I'm wasting a ton of product, and that's not the best because this is also $40 and I gave into the hype because everyone was raving about this. I think like some influencer TikToker had this in their like Vogue Get Ready With Me and it was sold out for literally months. Here's the thing. It's pretty. Don't get me wrong. I think it is a pretty blush, just not on me. I don't love the way that this looks on me, and I don't love how glowy it actually is. I feel like my cheeks are a little bit too glowy when I use this, and I have other blushes that I like a little bit more. The staying power isn't there, which is super surprising to me because it does dry down. There's just something about this that just doesn't work for me. Like, it's a little bit too reflective for me. I think the pink tone is not amazing on my skin tone. I think I look a little bit like washed out when I wear this, and I really wish I hadn't given in to the hype and spent $40 on this. I will say the formula is like nice, like it blends out easily. I just don't think this shade works for me, and I don't think that I would ever repurchase this, and I don't reach for it often, which kind of sucks because it is so expensive. I want to reach for this more often and use this up. There's something about it that I don't like. Same thing, the applicator is like a sponge tip, and like just the cap gets so messy, and I hate that. I really wish they had like a different applicator. Even if they had like a kind of like a doe foot, kind of like the Kaja Whipped Dreams blush, like the applicator is a doe foot. I feel like that would be kind of nice instead of the sponge tip where everything gets dirty. Those are my two Charlotte Tilbury, not fails. They didn't fail, but there are definitely things that I don't like about them, and they're so expensive, and I just don't think I would spend the money on them again if I had the choice. Like if I lost all of my makeup, I definitely would not repurchase them. I really wish I liked them more than I do. I really gave into the hype with that one, and I think a lot of the people that love the blush wand or a lot of the people that I've seen that love the blush wand are definitely lighter in complexion than I am, and I really wish that I liked it more than I do because that was so expensive, and I kind of regret spending that much money on it. Next item might be a little shocking, and I'm a little upset about all of these things, but I'm especially upset at the Kosas Revealer Skin Improving Foundation. So when I first tried this, I really liked it. I liked the finish of it. I thought it was a good like light to medium coverage with the way that I was shearing it out with like using a sponge. I thought it lasted pretty well. I didn't notice any like huge wrongdoings with my texture. But a couple of weeks ago, I went on a work trip and I was there for 2 weeks, and the only foundation I brought was this foundation. So for using it for 2 weeks, I noticed that my skin broke out like crazy, like everywhere. I mentioned in a couple of videos that my acne was really bad and that I narrowed it down to one product. This is that product, and I'm really disappointed in this. This foundation retails for like $42, okay? Not cheap. Kosas is a clean beauty brand, so I'm not sure if this foundation has just gone bad or if my skin just doesn't get along with it. I know with clean beauty brands there are a little bit more, the worry that things are going to go bad happens much quicker. This foundation has not been out for that long, so the fact that it's gone bad already I think is not great. I think this is supposed to expire within 12 months and I've had this for less than 12 months for sure. And so the fact that the foundation breaks me out is really disappointing to me. Like, I do enjoy Kosas products. I love the Revealer Concealer. I'm working my way through this. It's honestly getting to like the nitty gritty. Like, I'm almost done with this concealer and I just wish that the foundation works for me, but it doesn't. It really broke me out, and it was like deep under the skin acne. It wasn't just like little whiteheads everywhere. It was like deep under the skin acne that was really painful. And this is the only thing I can think of that would cause that, because the rest of my routine remained the same as like every other day. But using this consistently for 2 weeks, it was not good. And so I regret purchasing this because it just did not work for me. It broke me out. Ever since starting like birth control and getting my IUD, my acne has always like pretty much been in check until I used this foundation consistently, and I broke out so much, like way more than I ever thought I could. I regret this. I regret using this and purchasing this, and I really wish I didn't. I really wish this worked for me because I have so much of this foundation left. I'm very disappointed that this did not work for me. Okay, so the next couple items I'm gonna put up on the screen like little pictures of, because I don't have them directly like in front of me. I've already decluttered them. But the first one I want to talk about is the Natasha Denona Mini Zendo palette, which is like kind of like an orangey color story. I bought that when I was first getting into makeup again. I had really heard the hype of Natasha Denona's eyeshadow formula. I specifically bought the mini palette because it was only $25, whereas her bigger palettes were like a $65 to like $130. Okay, the main reason I regret buying that is because that color story just is not in my realm. I don't go for those like corally shades, kind of those like reddy orange shades. I don't wear eyeshadow that often in general, and when I do, I tend to go for neutrals. I tend to go with like pops of color that are like pastel-y, and I just should not have bought that palette. There were other Natasha Denona palettes that I could have picked up that were more up my alley. I just did not like that color story. I never used it. Or I used it a couple times when I forced myself to use it, but I never reached for it willingly. I think there were other Natasha Denona palettes that I could have picked up instead that I would have enjoyed more, but I decided to pick up the color story that did not really bring me joy. I think now there are a couple of Natasha Denona palette like minis that I would like, but I am done buying eyeshadow palettes for a very long time. I don't use them, and I think I have all of the eyeshadow palettes I could possibly need. Speaking of eyeshadow palettes, the last thing I want to mention is the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette, which I think is discontinued now, but basically that palette was on sale at Sephora for like half off for a very long time. I picked it up because everyone on Instagram had loved that palette, was posting it all the time, was doing all these fun looks with, and I gave into the hype. I feel like that's a recurring theme with the makeup products that I regret buying. So I gave into the hype. I picked it up, I used it a couple of times, and I wish the formula was better. I found that the formulas, or the Huda Beauty formula, was pretty light. Like I wasn't able to build up any of the shades to be the pigment that I liked, or the pigment that I wanted. I feel like a lot of the looks were like very subtle even though the color story was very pretty, I really liked the color story. I just don't think the formula worked for me. I did a couple of looks with it and I ended up selling it to my good friend Sarah, which her Instagram tag is at already shopped it. So I'll tag her. But so I ended up selling it to my friend Sarah, and I kind of wished I didn't pick that up. I think I was just giving into the hype, and I think I was just giving into the hype. I really wish I didn't pick it up, and I'm kind of glad it's not in my collection anymore because I already have 20 palettes. I already don't use them all, and I definitely don't need any more eyeshadow palettes. Yeah, I just regret buying that. I shouldn't have done that. I am a little upset with myself that I did. And that is basically it for this video. I think everything else in my collection, whether it has been decluttered or not decluttered, I think those are the main items that I really regret buying. Or all the items that I've decluttered, I think I was able to get some use out of before decluttering, whereas these are things that were very expensive that did not live up to my expectations, and that is why I regret them. I'm sure there will be more products in the future that I regret buying. I do have a habit of spending money on makeup and skincare, so I am sure I'll do another video like this soon. I think it'd be fun to do a video of products worth the hype too, because I feel like a lot of the products that I regret are products that were given a lot of hype. So if you want to see that sort of video, please let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys liked this video, liked this kind of content. Please like and subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!